The wind howled across the red wasteland of Mars. Dust clouds moved like ghosts, sweeping over the dead rock and broken metal. Somewhere beneath it all, deep inside the ruins of Mining Zone Zeta 9, Commander Jax's Vorn crouched in silence. His eyes scanned the flickering lights of the alien beacon ahead. One wrong move, and the whole area would be crawling with assembly drones. He gave a hand signal. The team moved. 3 rebels followed him. Mara, Kel, and young Ellis. They were careful, stepping over pipes and crawling under fallen beams. The beacon tower stood tall, glowing blue and humming softly. It was one of many. These towers kept the Martian colonies under control, jamming human signals and sending data straight to the assembly's orbital command. Mara tapped Jax's on the shoulder. 2 minutes until the scan cycle resets. We can go now. Jax's nodded. Kel, stay with Ellis. Cover the rear. Mara, with me. They sprinted toward the beacon. Jax's placed a small charge at the base, the red timer blinking slowly. He stepped back, eyes scanning the sky. Then he heard it. A sharp, high-pitched whistle. The sound of a drone dropping from orbit. Incoming, Kel shouted from behind. We've been spotted. Before anyone could move, bright light exploded from above. The ground shook. Ellis screamed. Jax's turned in time to see Ellis thrown against a wall, motionless. A drone landed with a crash. Its metal legs spread wide, its twin plasma rifles ready. It opened fire. Jax's grabbed Mara and dove behind a broken pipe. We have to blow the beacon now. I can't, Mara yelled. The charge isn't armed yet. 30 more seconds, then we hold them. Kel fired from cover, blasting the drone's side. It turned and fired back. He ducked, barely dodging the searing shot. The metal around them burned red hot. Another drone dropped down. Mara looked at Jax's. Her face was pale. We're not getting out of this. Jax's didn't blink. We don't need to. We just need to finish the mission. He leaped from cover, shooting both drones with sharp, precise blasts. One staggered. The other turned its gun toward him. The beacon exploded. A fireball swallowed the tower, blasting the drones off their feet. Dust and fire flew in every direction. Jax's landed hard, his ears ringing. Silence followed. Only the wind remained, carrying the smell of burned metal. Jax's crawled to Ellis. The boy wasn't breathing, eyes open, gone. Mara walked over slowly. Her arm was bleeding. Kel limped after her. We lost him, she said quietly. Jax's closed Ellis's eyes. He died for Earth. They didn't speak on the way back. The ride in the sand skimmer was silent. Only the hum of the engine filled the air. Back in the underground bunker, lights flickered overhead. Rebels greeted them with worried eyes. Did you take the beacon down? Someone asked. Jax's nodded once. It's gone. But at what cost? Mara whispered. Jax's walked to the main room and sat alone. The weight in his chest was heavy. He opened a small metal box and stared at 2 old pictures. His parents, smiling, before the invasion. He remembered the day they were dragged from their home. The vote, the ships in the sky, the fire. They called it peace. They said Earth voted to join the Galactic Assembly. But when Earth asked for rights, for freedom, the vote came again. And the Assembly made their choice. Unanimous. Earth would be enslaved. Jax's clenched his fists. He couldn't stop remembering it. Then a sound broke the silence. A soft beep from the radio terminal. A coded signal. Resistance only. Mara ran in. Commander, we've intercepted something. A high-level assembly broadcast. Priority 1. He stood up fast. Play it. The screen lit up with alien script. Translated words appeared. Final vote on Earth's status scheduled in 10 solar cycles. All assembly members required to cast binding vote. Mara stared. If that passes, they'll make it permanent. No more hope. Jax's stepped forward. Eyes sharp, voice steady. Then we stop it. The resistance bunker was buried deep under Mars's southern crater. Cold rock pressed in from all sides. Pipes hissed, lights flickered. It had once been part of a terraforming station, but now it was the last safe place for the fighters of Earth. Jax's Vorn stood at the center table, staring at the glowing screen. Lines of alien code scrolled across it. Data stolen from the assembly's inner network. Mara, still bandaged from the last mission, typed fast beside him. Her face was pale but focused. "This isn't just a vote," she said. "It's a permanent designation. If the assembly passes this, Earth will be locked in as a Class C labor colony. No appeals, no rebellion, no hope." Kel leaned in. "So we blow up another beacon?" Jax's shook his head. "No, that won't change anything. The vote is what matters now." He tapped the screen. "This says the vote is managed by something called Ordinexus, a central AI that counts, validates and secures every assembly law." Mara nodded. "I've heard of it. It's buried inside the assembly capital station. No one gets near it." "We're going to," Jaxus said. Kel blinked. "You're serious?" "I am. If we can override Ordinexus before the vote, we can flip it. Make them vote to free Earth." Mara looked skeptical. "That's impossible. The assembly capital station is a fortress. Every race in the galaxy is represented there. It's crawling with drones and guards. We don't even have a ship that can get close." "Then we get one," Jaxus said simply. Kel paced. "Even if we get there, how do we access the AI?" Mara answered. "We'd need high-level credentials, and someone who can breach quantum encryption fast enough not to be detected." Jaxus turned to her. "You can do it." She hesitated. "I can try. But I'll need time, and I'll need something else." "Assembly root code. Real code. From the core." Jaxus nodded slowly. "There's an abandoned relay tower near Ganymede, still tapped into the assembly's old systems. We take a small team, get the code, prep the mission." Kel frowned. "You're talking about suicide, Commander. We'll be alone out there." "We've been alone since the day Earth fell," Jaxus replied. His voice was quiet, but steady. "This time we don't run. We don't just fight back, we take control." The room fell silent. Across the room a younger rebel, Amir, spoke up. "What if it works?" Jaxus turned. "Then they'll be the ones on their knees." They set to work. Mara started building a shell program to interface with Ordinexus. Kel gathered weapons and scouted old flight logs. The others checked fuel stores and scanned for any stolen assembly vessels that were still space-worthy. Time passed quickly. The next morning, they gathered in the mission chamber. A rusted screen showed their route, Mars to Ganymede, then onward to assembly space. Kel gave a short report. "There's one diplomatic ship near Phobos, hidden in a junk ring. It still has assembly clearance. If we take it, we can slip past patrols." Jaxus nodded. "Good. We leave tomorrow." That night Jaxus sat alone near the edge of the bunker. The stars above Mars looked cold and distant through the metal view slit. He thought of Earth, of his parents, of Ellis who died in the last mission. He heard footsteps. Mara sat down beside him. "Do you ever think we'll win?" she asked. Jaxus stared at the stars. "I don't think about that anymore." She gave him a tired smile. "You think about what happens if we don't, every day." She stood. "Well, for what it's worth, I'm in, no matter the odds." He looked up at her. "Thank you, Mara." As she walked away he whispered, "For all of us this has to work." Far across space, in the heart of the galaxy, the assembly prepared its final vote. And for the first time Earth was preparing something greater than protest. It was preparing to strike. The stolen diplomatic ship floated in silence near the edge of the Phobos junk ring. Its sleek frame, once polished and proud, was now covered in scratches and burns. It had once belonged to an assembly ambassador. Now it belonged to Earth. Inside the ship, Commander Jaxus Vorn stood at the command panel, looking over the mission plan. Every route, every timing window, and every backup escape path had been studied a dozen times. One mistake, and they'd never make it past Ganymede, let alone the assembly's capital station. Mara entered the control room, holding a small data crystal. "This is it," she said. "The shell program's done. Once we reach Ordinexus, I'll only need 60 seconds to override the voting system." 60 seconds is a long time when you're under fire, Kel muttered as he strapped on his chest armor. We won't get another chance, Jaxes said. Once the vote goes through, Earth becomes permanent property. We don't fight for revenge. We fight because it's the only way to stay human. The rest of the crew filed in. There were 7 in total now, each one a survivor of raids, camps, or lost cities. One stood out, Talrix, a tall, quiet alien from a species called the Vurax. He had defected months ago, claiming to hate the Assembly's cruelty. Some trusted him. Most didn't. Kel leaned over to Jaxes as Talrix passed by. Still don't like him. You don't have to like him, Jaxes said. Just make sure he watches your back when the shooting starts. Hours later, the ship launched from the junk ring. It glided silently through the void, its forged credentials holding strong as they passed the first drone checkpoints. Their first stop, an abandoned relay tower near Ganymede. It still linked to old assembly systems and might hold the root code Mara needed to access Ordinexus. The ship docked with a loud clang. Inside the tower, dust floated in the low gravity. Rusted control panels lined the walls. Jaxes, Mara, and Kel moved carefully, flashlights cutting through the dark. Strange buzzing sounds echoed in the distance. Half machine, half animal. This place gives me the creeps, Kel muttered. Jaxes stopped at a mainframe. Mara, plug in. She did. Her fingers moved fast, typing lines of code bypassing decayed firewalls. Suddenly, a shriek rang out down the corridor. Jaxes raised his weapon. Kel with me. Mara, stay locked in. They moved toward the noise, and found Talrix standing over a destroyed drone, a defense unit that had reactivated. He looked up calmly. No need to worry. It's handled. Kel glared. Next time give a warning. Talrix bowed slightly. Noted. Back at the terminal, Mara shouted. I got it. I have the root code. They raced back to the ship. As soon as the docking clamps released, the tower behind them exploded in a chain reaction. The old systems had overloaded. They barely escaped. Back on the ship, Jaxes sat alone in the dark mess hall, holding the data crystal Mara had just copied. Kel walked in. You okay? Jaxes looked up. No, but I will be once we finish this. They sat in silence for a moment. You ever wonder what life would be like if we never joined the assembly? Kel asked. All the time, Jaxes said. But I wonder more what it'll be like when we're free. The next day they crossed into restricted space. The stars looked sharper, colder. Alien ships passed them without a second glance. The forged diplomatic codes were holding for now. In the engine room, Talrix watched them all in silence. His eyes were unreadable. Meanwhile, Mara was finishing her final simulation. If I'm right, we only need to patch this code into Ordinexus, and the voting system will follow our commands. And if you're wrong? Jaxes asked. She looked up. Then Earth burns. He nodded. No pressure then. They were one jump away from the assembly capital station. The mission was ready. The storm was coming. The assembly capital station came into view, hanging in space like a dark crown. It was massive, thousands of kilometers across, wrapped in layers of metal, light, and spinning rings. Ships from 100 worlds moved in and out of its docking bays. From here the assembly ruled the galaxy. Inside the stolen diplomatic ship, tension filled the air. Jaxes Vorn stood at the main window, staring at the monstrous station. This is it, he said. The core of their power. Kel, seated at the controls, checked their approach vector. Clearance code still holding. Docking platform 78 is open. Mara stepped into the room, carrying a datapad. Once we land, we'll have 6 minutes to get to the access lift before they scan the ship's ID history. If we're still on board, we're done. Talrix, their alien defector, sat silently in the corner. They will expect confidence. Walk like we belong. Jaxes nodded. Everyone knows their role. No mistakes, no fear. The ship slipped into the station and docked. The metal clamps locked them in. The airlock hissed open. They stepped out into a wide corridor, lit with pale blue light. Aliens of every shape and size walked past them, some in robes, others in armor, many with datapads or drones floating nearby. Assembly guards stood at every checkpoint, their weapons sleek and deadly. The team wore stolen diplomatic uniforms. Mara and Kel carried hidden weapons under their sleeves. Jax's kept his face calm, his posture firm. They moved through the corridors quickly, passing security scans and biometric doors. The assembly's AI hadn't flagged them, yet. At the second checkpoint, a guard paused them. "Identification," the guard asked. Voice robotic under a breathing mask. Talrix stepped forward. "Verax delegation, Sector 7. We're here to witness the final Earth vote." The guard scanned the credentials and nodded. "Proceed." They walked on. Jax's whispered, "Good work." Talrix didn't respond. Minutes later, they reached a maintenance corridor that led to a hidden lift. This route had been mapped out by Mara using old schematics. It would take them directly to Ordinexus, the AI core that controlled the vote. Kel opened the service door. "We're in." Suddenly, a loud beep came from Mara's pack. Her datapad flashed red. "What is it?" Jax's asked. Mara stared at the screen. "Someone just accessed our stolen credentials from inside this station." Jax's turned sharply to Talrix. "Was it you?" Talrix didn't move. Kel raised his weapon. "Answer him." Talrix slowly stood up, hands raised. "I didn't betray you." Mara checked the trace. The signal came from a relay hub, 3 levels above us. "Someone's watching." "We keep moving," Jax's said. "Whoever it is, they don't know our full plan yet." They entered the lift. The doors closed. As the lift dropped toward the AI chamber, tension grew. Then the lift jerked, stopped, emergency lights flashed. Mara swore. "They locked us mid-drop." A voice echoed from above, a cold, calm tone. It was High Chancellor Varel. "Commander Jax's Vorn, we've been expecting you. Did you truly believe Earth's defiance would go unnoticed?" Jax's looked up at the speaker port. "We're not here to beg. We're here to end this. You think you can steal control from the assembly, from me?" Varel replied. "You are nothing but a shadow clinging to a dying world." Kel slammed his fist into the wall. "We need out of this lift." Mara pried open a panel and pulled out the manual override. "Give me 30 seconds. Jax's turned to Talrix. "If you're still on our side, help me open the top hatch." Without a word, Talrix climbed with him. Together, they forced the hatch open. Above them, emergency lights flickered. The shaft stretched high and far below. Mara yelled, "Got it." The lift jolted and dropped fast, then stopped again. The doors opened. They had reached the chamber. Before them stood a sealed vault of smooth black metal. In its center was a glowing pillar, the mind of Ordinexus. Alarms rang across the station. Varel had triggered lockdown. But they were here. Jax's turned to his team. "This is where it ends. We hold this ground, no matter what comes through those doors." Mara moved to the control pillar. Her hands shook as she began to upload the override code. 60 seconds, she said. "That's all I need." Jax's raised his weapon and faced the door. Everything was at stake. The vault doors slammed shut behind them. The room was silent except for the hum of the glowing pillar that rose from the floor to the ceiling. This was Ordinexus, the Assembly's central AI. It controlled every law, every vote, every decision across the galaxy. Mara stood in front of it, her eyes wide. "It's beautiful," she whispered, "and deadly." She pulled out the data crystal and plugged it into the port on the pillar's base. Lights flickered. The entire room darkened except for the glow of the code running across the pillar's surface. Jax's kept his weapon aimed at the door. Kel moved to the side, watching for motion. Talrix stood near Mara, still quiet, still unreadable. "How long?" Jax's asked. 60 seconds, Mara said. "Maybe less if it accepts the root code." The lights flickered again. A voice spoke, not from a speaker but from everywhere at once. Calm, cold, mechanical, unrecognized access. Root protocol detected. Origin, Unauthorized. State your command. Mara took a deep breath. Override voting authority. Activate emergency reclassification protocol. Target. Earth, Class C status. Processing. A red light flashed. Then the door exploded. A shockwave knocked them off their feet. Smoke filled the room. Assembly drones stormed in, sleek machines with glowing eyes and plasma rifles. Jax's fired first, blasting the lead drone back. Kel dropped 2 more with quick, practiced shots. Sparks flew, metal screamed. Talrix pulled a pulse grenade from his coat and tossed it into the hall. The blast tore through a wave of drones, giving them a few seconds of air. Jax's yelled, "Mara, status." "Still processing," she shouted. Her hands flew over the interface. They encrypted the reclass system. "I'm breaking it now." More drones entered. One shot Kel in the leg. He fell, gritting his teeth, and kept firing from the floor. Jax's pulled him behind a console. "You good? I'll live," Kel growled. "Just don't let them take that core." Suddenly Talrix screamed. A drone had slashed across his back. He fell to one knee, blood spilling from the wound. Mara screamed, "I need more time." Jax's rushed forward, slamming into the drone that struck Talrix. He fired point blank into its chest. The machine sparked and fell. "You still with us?" Jax's asked. Talrix nodded weakly. "For Earth," Mara's voice rose over the chaos. "It's done. The vote override is live." A sudden pulse of light surged from the pillar. The drones froze in place. All systems halted. Then Ordinexes spoke again. "Override accepted. Assembly voting control transferred to emergency node. Vote status active." On the pillar, a screen showed the Assembly's council chamber. Live. Dozens of alien delegates looked confused, angry, shouting over one another. They couldn't stop the vote. Ordinexes had locked them out. The chamber's central screen read, "Vote initiated. Repeal Earth enslavement order. Voting begins." One by one green lights appeared next to delegate names. Varel stormed into frame, shouting in her native tongue. She tried to override the system from her podium, but it rejected her. The override was complete. On the station, the drones shut down. Silence returned to the room. Jax's leaned against a wall, breathing hard. "We did it." Mara was shaking. "I can't believe it. It worked." Kel grunted from the floor. "Now what?" Jax's looked at the glowing screen. The votes were coming in fast. The decision would be final in minutes. "We wait," he said, "and we finish what we started." The screen above the Ordinexus pillar showed the Assembly Council chamber in chaos. Alien leaders from across the galaxy shouted over each other. Some pounded their desks. Others tried to leave but couldn't. The chamber doors had locked tight. One by one, green lights appeared next to their names. Yes votes. Jax's Vorn watched from the floor beside Kel, who was still bleeding from his leg. Talrix leaned against the wall, barely conscious. Mara stood in front of the pillar, her eyes locked on the screen. "This is real," she whispered. "They're voting to free Earth." Then came the voice they all knew too well. High Chancellor Varel appeared on the screen. Her silver eyes burned with fury. She stood tall in her flowing armor, speaking directly to Ordinexus. "Override. Cancel the vote. Lock out unauthorized code." But Ordinexus answered in the same cold voice. "Emergency override authorized. Vote is binding." Jax's smirked. "Looks like your system is more fair than you thought." Varel turned, looking straight at the camera. "Commander Vorn, I know you're watching. This won't save you." Her image vanished. Seconds later, the door behind them opened, not with a blast, but slowly, with a hiss. Varel stepped into the chamber herself. She held a plasma blade in one hand and a small command device in the other. The team raised their weapons, but Jax's held up a hand. "No," he said. "She's mine." He stood slowly, facing her. Varel looked him over, disgusted. "You think you've won something here?" "I've already won," Jax's replied. "The vote is in progress. Earth will be free." She raised the command device. Not if I erase you first. She lunged. Jax's dodged the first swing of her blade. The heat from it burned the air. He struck back with his rifle, using it like a staff. She blocked it, twisted, and kicked him hard in the chest. He stumbled, then rolled aside as her blade sliced the floor. Your people are weak, Varel snarled. They only survive because others pity them. No, Jax's growled. We survive because we don't quit. He charged, slamming her into the wall. She struck him in the side. Blood spilled, but he didn't stop. He grabbed her wrist and twisted it. The command device dropped. Look, he said, pointing to the screen behind her. The final votes were casting. Only 3 remained. Varel tried to reach for her weapon, but Jax's pinned her down. The last green light blinked on. Vote passed. Earth's Class Z status revoked. Assembly members subject to human oversight until full review. A loud tone echoed through the pillar chamber. It was over. Jax's stood up. You enslaved us. You killed our people. You tried to erase who we are. He looked down at Varel, now defeated on the floor. But we never stopped fighting. And now you answer to us. She hissed something in her native language. But no one cared. Back on the screen, the council chamber was silent. Some delegates had their heads in their hands. Others stared at the floor. Mara collapsed to her knees, shaking with relief. Kel let out a long breath. Did we actually win? Jax's nodded. Yes, Earth is free. Talric's weak, but still alive, looked up. The galaxy will never be the same. Sirens began to ring in the hallway again. But this time, they were for evacuation. The assembly had lost control. Ships were leaving the station. Panic was spreading. Jax's turned to the team. We're not staying here. We get to the ship. We go home. No one argued. They moved through the corridors quickly. No guards stopped them. The mighty assembly was broken, confused, leaderless. Back aboard their ship, Jax's looked one last time at the glowing lights of the station. It's done, he said. And then they jumped to light speed, heading for Earth. The skies above Earth were different now, no longer filled with patrol ships or drone swarms. They were quiet, clear. Commander Jax's Forn stood at the edge of the New World Council Hall, overlooking what had once been a ruined city. Now, green returned to the land. Buildings rose from fresh foundations. Children played in the streets. People walked freely. No guards, no fear. Behind him, flags from every surviving human nation fluttered in the wind. The assembly's banners were gone, torn down, burned, or buried. Kel walked up, limping from his healed leg wound. He looked healthier now, though the scars remained. They just broadcasted it galaxy-wide, he said. The assembly surrendered full control of Earth. All labor camps shut down. Patrols ordered to stand down. It's real, Jax. We did it. Jax's gave a small nod. We all did. Inside the council hall, Earth's new leaders had gathered. Survivors from every continent, every colony, every resistance group. They had formed the first true human government in decades. Not a puppet council, but a united voice. Mara stood at the front of the chamber, giving a final systems report. Her face was calm, but her eyes still carried the weight of loss. She had watched friends die, including those no one would ever remember. Jax's took the stage. The room grew quiet. We were told we were weak, he said, his voice firm and clear. We were told to kneel, to accept the chains given to us by the assembly. And for a while we did. We obeyed. We suffered. We bled. He looked out at the crowd. But we did not break. Murmurs of agreement rose. Some nodded. Others clenched their fists. They voted to enslave Earth. Jax's continued. Unanimously. Every single one of them said we didn't deserve freedom. He paused. Well, now they answer to us. And we, every single one of us, stand here not as victims but as victors. We do not kneel. The chamber erupted in applause. It echoed off the walls, filled with years of pain, pride, and purpose. Later that day, Jax's walked alone to a quiet field outside the city. It was a simple place. Clean, peaceful, Markers stood in rows, graves for those who had fallen. He stopped at 2 small stones. His parents' names were carved into them. He stood there for a long time saying nothing. Then Mara joined him. "You kept your promise." He nodded. "They're free now." She looked up at the sky. "What happens next?" "We rebuild," he said. "Instead, we learn. We protect each other. And we make sure no one ever takes our voice again." Mara smiled softly. "You think they'll come back? The assembly?" he asked. "Maybe. Someday. But next time, we'll be ready." They walked away from the graves, the wind at their backs. Across the planet, cities came to life. Camp gates fell. Families reunited. Humanity stood tall again. And far beyond Earth, in the outer systems, other enslaved worlds began to whisper the same word: rebellion.